Hello there, and thank you so much for the lovely introduction, Nikki. So, how are we doing today?
Good.
How's that for an entrance? Is that all right? Do we need to redo this? I can go back and rehearse.
That's amazing.
So, my name is Ken Sky, and I'm based in Winnipeg, Canada. I'm originally from the jungles of South America and worked my way up in life basically until from the jungles of South America to corporate stages around the world or on Zoom right now. So, as a young child, my mom told me this. I was sitting by the bonfire with her, and I would ask her, how do I draw this letter in the dirt? And she would tell me, and I was just sitting around the bonfire and I would write these letters. And from the moment that I discovered, oh, this is how you write a word, I looked up at her and said, Mom, when I grow up, I want to be a teacher. And what I didn't realize is that it was more than a teacher. I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to make new friends, new connections, such as this, to share a sense of wonder, joy, and inspiration. And I had no idea at this time how difficult this journey would be for me. I survived a lightning strike at the age of 5. Yes, I know what you're thinking. I did survive. But more importantly, we couldn't afford to go to school. My dad was going to have to take me out of school to work on a farm so we could basically provide for a living. But I wanted to become a teacher, so I had to work jobs, and I took any job I could get. And I've done everything from being a waiter for 2 weeks, because I wasn't cut out for that, to work as a shoemaker, as a wire fence maker, as a charcoal maker, as a radio sound engineer, as a tractor driver. But one of my favorite jobs was to be the radio sound engineer. And that's where I learned a lot of technical skills, multitasking. And I learned that 1 second can feel like an eternity. And initially, when I worked at the radio station, I would be sitting with my hands on the knobs, ready to transition over from one song to the next one. It was all done with an analog system. Now, I would be ready there about a minute beforehand so I could push the right buttons on time, fade in and out. And finally, after a couple of years of working there, I would look at the time, oh, I still have 10 seconds. I can probably get a sip of water or something. Like tons of time before I have to switch over to this next programming. So I would work all through high school and college, and I became a teacher, and I taught for 3 years in an elementary school in Paraguay. And it looks like, to me, we have some people here that might be from Germany or speak German. Is that correct? Can I see a show of hand? Wir sprechen alle Deutsch. Wunderbar. Machen wir in Deutsch weiter. So I learned Plattdeutsch as my first language at home, and I learned German as my mother tongue, basically, that was taught in school. And I ended up teaching in elementary school German, and it was one of my favorite subjects to teach. I then moved to Canada in 2003 with my wife, 2 suitcases, and $100, and started over from scratch with nothing, basically. I didn't speak the language, nobody knew me, nobody cared. And so I went back into this pivot mode where I had to basically reinvent myself. I think what really helped was I spoke Spanish as well. That helped me with learning English. But more importantly, my entire life, I had lived by this motto of, if I can't afford it, I will find an alternative to it. If I can't hire somebody to make a website for me, I will teach myself how to do it. When my computer crashed and I lost all my report card information for my students, and I took it to the mechanic, and he said, this can't be saved. I thought, first of all, my life is going to be over, because that's the biggest fail of a teacher, is to lose every single report that you made on a student. But instead, I dove down deep into this troubleshooting system, and I was able to somehow recover all the data from that computer. So all through my life, basically, this method of, if you can't do something this way, do it a different way. Or what else can you do? Mentality has always been in my DNA growing up. Now, if we skip forward to about 2020, January, I went full-time as a speaker and performer and a magician. And we'll get to some magic very soon. And I performed on a Las Vegas trade show in February, came back home to see all the rest of the events on my calendar vanished. And I had two options. Option one is throw a towel, go back and try to find a job, or maybe sit on a couch and get the money from the government. Or option number two, find a way to present virtually in a way that is engaging, where you see visuals, where the video is looking good, the sound is great. And I decided for that option. When I saw some of my colleagues presenting on Zoom, I was not impressed with the quality. And so I went on deeper and deeper and deeper into research mode to find out what can I do to stand out from them. And part of what you've seen is the result, the way I entered the Zoom meeting today. And this is what I now do professionally. I help companies produce engaging, interactive virtual events that feel like produced TV shows, with sound effects, with music, with underscoring, with visuals. And on top of that, I come on as a host, as a moderator, and as a magician. And that's the key word. Let's have our first volunteer, not victim, help us out. And who would be able to help me out? I would need this person to unmute themselves and communicate with me. Do we have a volunteer? Perfect. Thomas. Wonderful. A big round of applause for Thomas, ladies and gentlemen. Hallo Thomas, hallo, alles klar?
Hi, na klar bei dir?
Alles klar, oh, danke schön. Now, does every single person here understand German, or is there somebody that does not? We're all good with German?
Marcus.
Not really.
Not really, okay. I'll stick to English mostly, and we'll do the rest in Spanish.
Bien.
Thomas, siehst du den Kugelschreiber? Do you see the pen?
Yes, I do.
Which way is it pointing?
Towards your microphone.
Toward my microphone.
Yes.
Left or right?
That is from your side to the left, or possibly because it's gespiegelt to the right, and from my side to the right as well.
Now, here's the first lesson today. You made a really important comment. From my side of the screen, it's pointing to my left. From your side, it's pointing to your right. And we've always talked about looking at a situation from somebody else's point of view, but it never dawned on me so clearly until I started performing this illusion on virtual screen. Because instantly people say, my right, your left. And we now realize, yes, I'm looking at somebody else's perspective, and there's a difference in it. And that difference can mean everything. So watch careful now. There's 1, 2, and 3. Did you catch it?
No.
I might have gone too fast. Here's question number 2, Thomas. Which way is the pen pointing now?
With the top to your microphone, again, to your left, to my right.
I'm sorry?
To your left, to my right. Well, actually, now I see it the different way, yes.
See?
Yes.
That's magicians for you. But even if you said the other way, I could have done this, and you would have been right too. Now, one last time, slowly in slow motion. Just like magic. Thank you so very much. A big round of applause for helping out. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Now, I'd like, since I have you on stage, Thomas, do you mind sticking around for one more piece?
For sure.
This is one of my favorites. Ein Löffel and an envelope. If we take the spoon or the Löffel and push them into a new situation, we have a strange looking situation. And if we take a razor sharp butter knife, I could now attempt to demonstrate the illusion of a lady being sawn in half. Of course, that's not possible. You know that, and I know that. But if every person who was ever told that something was impossible would have stopped right there, we probably wouldn't have a light bulb right now. I was about 16 years old, and I wanted to write songs, and I had a band. I had bought myself an electric guitar, I had a band, and the gentleman who taught me guitar lessons, I ran a song by him. I said, "This is a song I wrote, what do you think?" And he said, "Songwriting probably isn't for you." That's just one of the many no's I've heard in my life. But for me, always a no triggered a "I'll show you" attitude. If we skip forward just a few years, we were at a battle of the bands. I was performing with my band, he was performing with his band. He was playing covers, we were playing original songs, and we won. It was Charles Darwin that said, "It's not the strongest of the species that survive. It's not the most intelligent. It's the ones most adaptable to change." And Thomas, that is how I did it. Any questions? Thank you so much. A big round of applause for helping out with Thomas as well, please. Now, one of the hardest parts for me to turn everything to virtual was you can't just take a presentation, a performance, and do it in front of a camera and it doesn't translate. So I created this term called virtualizing. Virtualizing a presentation or a show means taking a show that was performed live and changing the components that wouldn't work on a camera and making them so they work. For example, I have a top view of my close-up desk. And have you ever heard of the mystery of the Chinese linking rings? Well, those aren't them. Those are actually rubber bands, and they do come apart, and they are identical, especially this one. A stretchy rubber band, number 1 and number 2. Trapped, can't escape from its situation unless you let go. See it right there? Trapped inside, and if you let go, it comes apart. Otherwise, they can't. But you already know that we're not in a business of taking no as an answer. And just like that. That's the wrong button. I'm sorry about that. I'm back. Now, people say that the camera adds 10 pounds. What do you think? I'm actually really, really skinny in real life. No, I'm just kidding. But I think it does apply to lighters. If I bring it very close to the camera, it looks a lot larger, doesn't it? It's an illusion. But it does work on lighters. I would love to have Johan Stan help me out, if that's all right. Can we have some round of applause for Johan? All right. Hello, Johan.
Hi, nice to meet you.
How are you doing today?
Very good, very good.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for volunteering to help out. I appreciate that. I would like to do a little test with you, if that's all right. You see all these colors?
I see black.
See black. That's because my camera went off. Let's see if we can get, there we go. Do you see these colors?
Yes.
Now, this top camera is a different camera that I'm using here, so I'm just going to go over these colors to make sure we're on the same page. We have blue, yellow, purple, red, and green. We're good with that?
Agree.
I know that that looks like pink. It's just the way it comes across. And then we have some blank ones here too. And these ones have something on the back, and I won't show you that, but first I would like you to make some choices. Now, can you tell me, what do you do for a living?
Patent examiner, so patent intellectual property.
Intellectual property, that means you're very intelligent. And you can trust your instincts and everything will work just perfectly fine. For example, this first one, your intuition, what is it telling you? Where does it go? Green, red, purple, yellow, or blue?
Yellow.
Yellow. Fantastic, good choice. I'll mix them up even more. Where does this one go?
Green.
And he's not even hesitating. I mean, a man that knows what he wants. How about this one?
Blue.
Blue, right there. And this one?
Red.
Red, which leaves this one at purple, unless you want to change your mind.
No, it's purple.
It's purple. I've performed this quite a bit, and I don't think anybody's ever been so selbstsicher, so exactly known what he wanted than you. How do you think you did?
Perfectly.
Perfectly. Well, let's find out. There's blue, there's yellow, purple, there's red, and there's green.
I did perfectly.
You are the man. Thank you so very much for helping out. Since I have that camera working at this angle now, I'd like to show you what I have left over from my trip to Vegas. I was saying before that I was in Vegas working, and that's a true story. Here's some money left from the trip. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It's not a whole lot of money, but this happened to be my lucky money. Because if you look right there, don't blink, a little shake, and they do change color just a tiny bit. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and $500. And that curtain is going to come up every time now. I just noticed that, and that's something that, thank you so much, Niall, I appreciate that. So let me get back to the campfire. And here's something important that I discovered as I was on a camping trip this year with my family. And we had this campfire going, and it was cold, it was damp, and the wood wasn't dry, so we had a really hard time getting it going. So I was teaching my sons, if you want to get it going, you got to blow hard into it, and it seems counterintuitive. But the harder you blow into a campfire or a bonfire, the higher the flames will go. And then I realized a lot of people are walking around with their small little flame covering it so that nobody will blow it out, because one small little blows out your flame. But you can't blow out a bonfire. So I look at this analogy just like you might look at your team at your company. We have fire starters, we have kindling, we have oxygen, we have heat, softwood, hardwood. All these elements together make a fire. But if you didn't have a fire starter, somebody who takes initiative to get going on an idea, then there would be no fire. So who are the fire starters in your company? And do they know that these people are appreciated for starting new ideas? And then when we have that small fire going, who is the softwood? The people that can see and recognize an idea and take it to the next level. And then we have the hardwood, the bigger logs, that they might take a lot of convincing. It might take some time to really get them involved in a project, in a new direction. But when you have them on board, you can be rest assured that the fire will keep going on and on and on. And at that point, when you work together, when this is your company culture, you can blow into the fire as hard as you want, and all it's going to do is making it flame higher. And I wanted to share this idea with you because I think a lot of times we might not see a picture that way. And to really make sure that the teams work together in the right way. And we might have to look at personality types. We might have to look at who is my softwood, who's the hardwood, and who's the fire starter. They might be in different departments. So can we create an atmosphere in our work environment where these people can communicate that the right fire starter can be connected with the right next team member? Do we have some time for more? How are we doing, Nikki?
Yes, totally. We have 30 minutes to go. It's beautiful.
Okay.
I'm super excited.
Hypnosis is an interesting word because it means different things for different people. Some people are maybe hesitant. Some people are thinking, yes, hypnosis would be great if I could use that on myself. And I think in some ways, along in my life's journey, I've been able to sort of not really hypnotize myself as much as convince myself of an idea. And there's a German motivational speaker called Alexander Hartmann. Have you heard of him? Yes, some of you have. And Tobias Beck as well. And I follow these two gentlemen over quite some time now. And Alexander Hartmann talks about the reality circle, where you create an experience that will lead to something that you can remember in your mind, so that you can trick your mind in some way that this is, if I do this, this will be the result. And if this is the result I want, if that is lots of money, as an example, if that is the result I want to achieve, I need to have these sort of morning routines. I need to have this type of action in order to get to that point. And that's how you create your reality circle. And let's try a little experiment to see if we can create just a tiny bit of hypnosis. We have the 5 of diamonds and the Queen of hearts. And this might only work for you if you have a really strong imagination. Right now, the cards are crossed in some way, and if I start moving at the same frequency that my camera is emitting the images, which is a little fast, it's about 30 frames per second, it should look like those cards are melting into each other, just like that. Did it work for you? Can I see show of hand? Did it work for you? Could you see? Okay, perfect. 100%. Wonderful. Let's do one more. If you remember from before, we have a question mark. And I would need one more gentleman to help me out. Perhaps somebody that did not have a turn yet. Florian Hagar, would you be able to help me out with something?
Yes, I will, totally.
Awesome.
Nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you. And you're in Germany as well?
Yes, at the moment.
Okay, what do you do in Germany?
I'm a performance coach, helping people to perform under pressure.
Oh, under pressure.
Yeah.
Just like this, right? No pressure.
Exactly.
So you are born for this. So I love to ask, and I'm going to conclude with a little a gift today, and I'd like to do that with you. I got this from a friend of mine who is a psychiatrist or psychologe, and he's been doing this for years, and he was specializing in suicide prevention for many, many years, I think 20 plus years. And he said none of his patients ever killed themselves. So it means he is pretty good at what he did. But he discovered this one thing. He said, the one thing that most people are suffering from is loneliness. And that is why people even explore suicide as a solution. And he said, there's one thing that we all can do, and it doesn't take much effort, it doesn't cost any money, just by being aware of our surroundings. And when we see people, we can ask them this question with only 5 words, and I'd like to ask that to you today, Florian. Florian, what made you smile today?
First I would say you, but then I was thinking about my child. Watching
child?
you loving. Yeah, my baby was sitting here before watching you.
Well, thank you first. First of all, I'm honored that I made it to the list. And what is your child's name?
Lumina.
Sorry?
Lumina.
Lumina.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
And tell me about Lumina. How old is she?
She's now 19 months. Yeah.
19 months. Wow. And is that your only child?
Yeah, and I think it will stay that way so far.
So you do want to smile, but you don't want to laugh all the time. I get it. Lumina, beautiful. And so is the mom there too with you?
Yeah.
And I would imagine that she would make you smile too every now and then.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. Not as much as my daughter, but yes.
Perfect. So ever since I talked to this little doctor, I've been doing this. When I would go to the post office after I was done sending my packages or picking up my packages, I would address the person by his or her name and just ask, "What made you smile today?" And the reaction is almost always the same. It's an instant smile that you get. And more times than not, they will say, "You just made me smile," just for asking. But basically what this does, and you notice that we have the question mark still here. Basically, and make sure you don't take your eye off the question mark.
Okay.
Basically, what happens is when you ask somebody that question, what happens in your brain is it instantly goes to all the positive things that happened that day. And it's hard to be sad when you just play back all the positives of your day. And so I find this to be a great question, since we're talking about question, to ask, what made you smile today? So I had a feeling about this today, Florian. So I wrote something down. I wrote Florian
What?
and Lumina.
Unbelievable.
Can we have a round of applause for Florian, please? And with that, we're gonna try to switch back this time directly to here without the curtain.
There she is. Thank you, Ken.
My pleasure.
And it's a beautiful thing you're doing. Asking
Appreciate
people
that.
about the smile.
And I do have one final performance or some for later on if we like, but I would now maybe want to come to you, Nikki, and see if there's questions, comments. As it is my first time being here, and it's an absolute pleasure being here. I'd just like to check in with you, Nikki. So
you put a smile on my face.
oh, thank you.
It was an experiment. As I said before, I never had enlightenment in that form and that shape in this program, and you're just doing so beautifully well with that. And thank you so much for doing this.
My absolute
I
pleasure.
don't know of your talent, and I'm so grateful that you're here with that energy, putting smiles on 10 faces, including mine. It's really, really, really good.
It's my honor. Thank you so much.
How are you guys doing? I see a lot of smiles. I see Niall smiling.
Oh no, it's superb. It's very inspiring. You know what you're doing there, Ken. Really, it's superb.
Thank you,
And
Niall.
I love some of the stories, the fire starter, what made you smile today. Those are just really great. Great ideas, great concepts.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate that.
So you know what you just broke up with, and that's the idea that when we meet on Zoom, we do this because that's the technology that's available for us right now to meet. So we treat it in a very pragmatic way. Pardon my voice. It's a very pragmatic way how we're treating the fact that we now all meet on Zoom, and you just crack this up. It's not at all necessary. It works amazingly well. I feel like I'm gonna go to bed with that smile tonight.
Well, that has been absolutely worth it to being on here. So, and I get asked this question a lot, and I'll just quickly tell, and then Thomas, I'll come to you. People always ask, how did you pivot? That seems to be the $1 million question that people ask. How did you pivot? And I had to think about it for quite some time, and then I realized it's a very simple. Where it starts is very simple. Don't look at the things you can't do. Then the things you could do, all of a sudden, are easier to see. Because I could have just been frustrated about not being able to do live shows anymore. And it was hard, especially since I was on track to make my biggest year yet. But luckily, I was able to pull myself out of that, I can't do this attitude. And then all of a sudden, I found more and more pieces of things you can do that you can't do otherwise. And I might be able to pull up some examples here. But I mean, you've seen some of the special effects. But for some companies, as an example, if I introduce somebody, you might see something like this. And this is just a result that came out of exploring what else can you do. And then to be able to say, oh, here's some of the companies I work with. And then, oh, there's a spot missing. Let me fill it in. And then here, this would be the logo of my potential client, things like that. I could never do this in life before. I would have to have some sort of device to do it. But now things just happen in my screen. And as you might have noticed, not once in this entire time have I shared my screen with you. Everything that you've seen happened right inside my new billboard. And I think this is just a big lesson for me was, this is my billboard. I now have a billboard. You all have a billboard, and this is how I will now have my biggest year yet. Because when I show up at a networking meeting, instantly people say, okay, what is your camera? What sound? How do you set up your sound? Just by showing up like I mean business, I've gotten a ton of business now. And it would have never happened if I would have settled for okay. So that is a part of my pivoting story. So Thomas, you had a question?
You have answered it now with this. So it was also, do you have a website that I could see how you are doing this? Because, and not that I know all the IPs you have, but to understand a little bit more how you are doing this.
That's a great question. And first of all, I knew you were going to ask that question because I'm a mind reader.
Yeah, clear, magician.
But the answer is this. I have a website in progress that I'm happy to share, but it's not finished just because when I finally figured out what I'm doing virtually, I instantly got so busy that I didn't have time to really finish it. But it's hopefully coming soon. And it's Ken Sky Unlimited. That is my website. And I do have, first of all, and here's just another method of how I communicate visually. If you'd like to connect with me, you can just take your phone. Where's my phone? Here. If you take your phone and just open up the camera, you don't even have to go to LinkedIn, just open the camera and hold it over my screen. It should take you right to my LinkedIn profile if you like to connect and stay connected that way. So that is a great way.
And I will connect you all and you can take it from there. I already seen some people also chatting me that there seems to be some follow-up in the pipeline and you're bookable, right?
And then I do have a gift for everyone. I created this guide that gives people tips on how to present online on Zoom specifically. That includes what to do with your environment, how to set up sound, lights. It goes into basics and then some go a little bit more into advanced. But if you do want to get that guide, if you text the word virtual to that number, it'll be sent right to your phone and you can certainly enjoy that as well there. And you'll find my website is on that page as well. And I'll just leave that up there for a moment for those who need some time.
And it's a +1 for everyone who is in Europe, I guess.
Yes, that's correct. +1. It should work for everybody no matter where they are. So I've tested it in the US and Canada and it has worked. So
should it respond instantly?
It should come within a few seconds, yeah. If it doesn't work, let me know and I will make sure I send it to Nikki, who can send it out to everyone.
So it didn't work for me until now, but as I said before, I'm going to connect you anyways. And feel free to follow up with Ken and book him. And
You did not type in the quotes, right? You only text the word virtual, right?
yes, no quotes. Yeah, no response for now. I don't know about the others, but
I'm just doing it.
Let me know if it does not work, and I will certainly take care of that.
yeah, no response on my end so far. 500 5759 873 500 5759. Yes. Did anyone has a response?
No.
Okay.
No response. I will then share the link directly with you, Nikki, and you can send it out to everyone. Do we have any other questions before we jump into a bit more magic?
Let's have some more magic.
Yeah,
All right, let's
Can you
try
answer
this.
my question?
Yes, go ahead.
I think you know it.
The answer is no, sorry.
Okay. No, I just can you explain a little bit more the be voting question? Can you explain a little bit more about what's happened in the moment? Why did you just take these opportunities?
For producing virtual events,
Yes.
why did I take the opportunities, or how did I get to them? What is the
Yes.
question?
Yes. The question, the second one.
Okay.
How did you get it? And
How did I get it? So I'm connected on Facebook with a lot of people, and I saw my colleagues jumping on and doing Zoom shows. And at first I wanted to be the first one to jump on, but that didn't happen because somebody else had already beat me to not, so I wasn't the first. So I thought, if I'm not the first, I'm gonna be different than anybody else. So I wanted to make a video to promote what I did. So I spent 50 hours on a 1.5 minute video. And I had this crazy setup. I had a green screen set up in my room where my whole body was in, so I could take myself and put myself in a virtual environment, a virtual studio. And I delivered my content and I posted it on Facebook, and including a German group by followers of Christiani storytelling. Are you familiar with anybody familiar with Christiani? Yes. So I'm part of that group as well because I speak German, and I always find it fascinating to learn from people of different languages. And German has just always been close to me. In fact, we were considering moving to Germany just before COVID hit, but then that didn't happen yet. And as soon as I posted this on social media, I got a lot of attention for it because it stood out from everybody else. I then started to join some networking groups, and Nikki is part of Metal, right? That's where we met. And in Metal, it started basically. And at first I just showed up. I showed up like this. And the first thing people, they didn't ask, what's your name? What do you do? They asked, why do you look like that? Why do you sound like that? And so conversations started happening. And so I got invited to different groups that were all focused around speaking. And what can we do as speakers in this environment where our live events are canceled? I joined that group. Again, it was networking, and I just basically shared my skills. And there was a gentleman that said, I need help with my DSLR setup. Would you mind helping me? I said, of course. We'll book a time, and we got on Zoom. And I spent a full hour just explaining every single little bit. This is where you set the camera. This is where you set the light. This is the dials. This is where these are the settings that you use, every single thing. And he was so happy. He said, oh, let me send you money for this. I said, it's up to you, because I didn't even have a price structure at this time. And so that's how it started. And before I knew it, there's another person. Oh, can you help me? Can you help me? And that led then to, all of a sudden I got out of nowhere, I got an email from this first gentleman that said, Mark, meet Ken. Ken can help you with your needs. And this Mark person, he had an event he wanted to do. It was going to be virtual this year. And he said, I want it to be different from all the other Zoom meetings. I want this to be special. And I said, well, I can help you with that. So my background is also, beyond being a magician, I studied how to use magic with a message to communicate for corporate events specifically. So I already had that part down. And at this time, I had had enough time to play with Zoom. And I figured Zoom really should be a TV show. There should be applause coming in at the right time. There should be maybe laughter and cheering, music. Everything should be ready at the moment's notice to just come in, just like you would see on television. So I created this product that you can't learn anywhere just because I made it in such a unique way, at least to my knowledge, that nobody else has. And so as soon as one person saw this, they hired me. The next person came and saw, at this point, I'm pretty confident in how to demo it on Zoom. People see the value, and that's how I'm now getting my business. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you very much.
So the rule of thumb there really is show up like you mean business. That was, in my case, was huge.
Amazing journey, amazing energy that you bring in. I feel like that's, beside the beauty of magic, your story and your narrative is so inspiring. I know that there are some people in the room on the brink to embarking their next version of themselves. I think that was very important for them.
No, I mean, if there ever has been a year to reinvent yourself, this would be the one. And I always wanted to be a self-employed, full-time person before I hit 30. And that never happened for me. And it was always kind of just a little pain deep down inside. You didn't make it at 30. Are you going to make it at 40, at 50? Are you ever going to make it? And so I finally had made it to the point where I felt, okay, at this point, I can let go of my side job and I can do what I do full time. That was January 2020, not knowing, not even having a clue as to what 2020 had in store for me. And when I then talked to my wife, I said, you know what? At this point, there's no going back for me. It's either bankruptcy or I'm going to find something that works. And I think you have to be willing to know what you're risking, but going for it anyways. And I think that is the entrepreneur type of thinking. And I didn't do this carelessly. I mean, I worked my butt off to make a product that would help people and that could really be useful. But going back was just not an option for me. I'd finally tasted at least 3 weeks of freedom before it all got taken away from me. And I'm like, I'm not giving that up. So if what you're currently doing doesn't seem to work in 2020, I would look at what has always been my passion, that I always thought maybe when I'm retired, that's what I'm going to get to. Explore those options and just go for it. That's what I would say.
Yes. Thank you for that.
And if you ever need any help with anything virtual, you know where to find me. I'm more than happy to meet with you in an introductory call and just discuss your vision and what I would do in your case. So if that is helpful, I'm always here and happy to help with that. So
thank you for that. Thank you for that. And as I said, you're all going to be connected to Ken, and please take the conversation from here and test waters, figure out how you can enrich each other's, literally.
wonderful. So we have a few more minutes left. Shall we do a little bit more magicianing?
Yes, love it.
Dental floss. I'm going to step back just a bit here so we can hopefully all see the pieces. Bring my microphone back too. Your dreams. Your responsibilities. Your family and friends. And your free time. And your adventure. All these little pieces. These are the things that we constantly balance in our life. And it's always a challenge, or not always a challenge, but it's always a matter of making sure that there is a balance in this mess of interconnected little strings that seem to have no connection to each other. Do I stay up extra late to try and get a project done, or is it more important to know when to stop and spend that time with your kids, with your wife, your partners? If you really follow your heart, I think you always know what the right thing is to do. Because that's when everything comes back together. Trust yourself. Really, that's my message. I'm still trying to get used to me doing my own applause here. But I do have an experiment here I'd like to conclude with and see if this would work for us. I'll bring that up on the screen here. And these are movie posters, and I'd like to take you all out to the movies. And it will be my goal to hopefully influence you to make all the choices just the way I want you to make the choices. And you can only do that by trusting your gut, really, by trusting yourself. Now there's some red posters and some yellow posters, and these are just the posters to start with so I can explain the rules. There's only 2 rules for this. When you put your finger on one of these posters, and I'm going to ask you to move back and forth around the posters, you can only move left or right, up or down. And you cannot go diagonally. So I put different colors because in this case, if you were on a red poster, you could not get to another red poster without going over a yellow poster. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So to start off, I would like all of you to put your finger on one of the yellow posters to start. Just pick any of the yellow posters, put your finger on it, and keep it on there for now. And I'm going to fill in some actual movie titles. One of my all-time favorite movies, The Greatest Showman, Harry Potter, The Hobbit, Back to the Future, Frozen, well, that one is there for a different reason. That one is there for Lumina, actually. Jurassic Park, Wizard of Oz, Avatar, and Titanic. Now you're one of these posters, and I'm going to ask you to move left or right, up or down 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I will take away the one poster that I know that none of you are on, which is the Titanic. But stay on that poster where you were and move again 5 more times. Up or down, left or right. And stop right there. And I'll take away Jurassic Park because I know none of you were on Jurassic Park. Move 2 more times, please. And I think it's safe to remove Avatar. Move 3 more times. 1, 2, 3. And this time I'm even brave enough to remove 2 posters that I believe that none of you are on. The Hobbit and The Wizard of Oz. Move 3 more times, please. And now I think it's safe to take away Harry Potter. Move 1 last time and keep that picture, that movie selected mentally, and don't forget. And if I was able to influence you through my soft voice and my gestures, then you should be on Back to the Future. And I'm guessing that it worked for most of you.
Yeah.
And it was Doc Brown from Back to the Future who said, "Your future is whatever you make it, so make it a good one." like to connect that with the past shapes us, but it doesn't define us. Because otherwise, this little kid from the jungle in South America would not be helping world leaders right now being effective on Zoom. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ken. That was just amazing, mind blowing. I'm giving you the applause.
Thank you so very much.
That was just I'm lost. It hardly ever happens. I've lost my words. But this is what I've lost my voice in August, but I've never lost my words until now. I have a big smile. Thank you so much.
My absolute pleasure.
I really enjoyed everything that happened in the past hour.
It was so great to be here with all of you.
Thank you
So
so much.
incredibly engaging. Yeah, brilliant.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Very inspiring, and it's very beautiful, the messages you have. Plus, watching you is like watching TV. The quality is amazing, and the sound is like hearing podcasts. So it's really engaging, and thank you for your work.
Yeah.
My absolute pleasure. And thank you to all of you who were willing to risk being part of the Magician's Helper, which is
It's
I
really
always try to make
interesting.
sure that we have fun, and there might be some small little bit teasing in there, but I never want to make anybody feel embarrassed. So I appreciate every single one of you, and I appreciate this group, Nikki, that you put together. I find this is amazing. I've only heard about it on Saturday, and I'm honored to be part of this, and it'd be my honor to come back if you ever needed me again. So